So I started getting my handle ready to attach to my lid. And so I have these extra pieces kind of hanging off the side. I'm going to use my fettling knife and I'm going to trim that extra off. Again, as with any part that you're attaching when you're working with clay, you want to score and slip it. So I'm going to make myself some guidelines so I know where to score. This is the only thing connecting your handle to your slab box. So it's really important that you score where you're attaching and that you score what you're attaching really, really well. Remember to use your gray slip because we're using gray clay. I encourage you to put slip on both parts just to make sure that you have enough. Okay. Then you probably want to use your wood tool and blend that handle in. Okay, so I don't want my handle to fall off. I kind of had to go all the way to that edge. Maybe I don't like that. I could still trim some of that handle off so that it doesn't stop at the edge. Make sure you press them down really well. Blend them with your fingers, with your wood tool. Try to get around the backside. If you need to use a rubber tip tool, remember that those are also a community item and you will want to make sure that you sanitize it first because students have been using them just to make sure that they were cleaned appropriately, and then you want to sanitize it after you use it as well. Plus then make sure that you wash your hands or use hand sanitizer after you are done, just to be safe. So there I have my theme started. I have a handle. Now I need to worry about the two other sides of my container. So I would go ahead and probably get a flower. If I wanted to add 3D parts of a flower, so let's say I'm going to make a flower on that side, but it's going to be three-dimensional instead of carving it. Whenever you attach something, you need to score and slip it. And make sure you press it on. So I want to blend. So this is like the middle part of a flower, let's say. Then I could take little bits of clay. I could roll out a slab. But these are going to act as my petals. So I'm going to attach them. So you want to think about all the sides of your slab container and do something to that. So there's one petal. So I've got one petal. Then I would continue to go around. And maybe my petals are all slightly different sizes. Maybe some are real short, maybe some are longer. Maybe some curve more than others. You just want to make sure that you attach well by scoring and slipping, and then you do any blending that's necessary. So here I have two of my flower petals. So maybe I'm going to add a flower here, and then I'm going to carve the rest of a flower over there. So you really get to decide what you want your sides to look like. But you need to have something on all four sides and something to the lid. Now, you don't have to have a handle. You could just have somebody pick up the lid like so, and that you wouldn't have to have that handle on the top. Or you could pick a different type of handle. So I can cut this off. Let's say I don't like my handle, and I want to create a knob. Okay, that's fine. Except if anything is thicker than an inch or gets close to an inch, we need to make sure that that's hollow. So if I want to make just a knob for the handle, First of all, I want it to look nice. So that might mean rolling it on the table. That might mean blending it a little bit with my hands so it looks nice and even. Okay. Then maybe I'm going to adjust its placement so that looks better. I need to score where I'm attaching, so where it's going to go, and then I really want to rough up what I'm attaching. So I roughed up the bottom of my knob and put some slip and press that down. I also want to make sure that I blend it in, so I'm using that wood tool. Now I'm kind of deforming it a little bit by blending it, but I can come back here in a moment with my finger, round it out a little bit more. Maybe I want it to, I don't know, be flatter at the top. But I have this big hunk of clay here that I'm using for the knob, and it has a really, really good likelihood of exploding because it's pretty close to an inch of thickness. So if you do something like this, you need to use that wire tool and you need to hollow it out. So I'm going to create an opening into the bottom of my lid. So I got to go through the lid, and then I'm going to go up into that hunk of clay that I added on. So this is hollowing it out so that it doesn't explode. So if things are thicker than an inch, they tend to blow up in the kiln. Not always, but they have a very good likelihood. Now I'm kind of doing this out of my reach, so I'm sort of messing up the circular part of my opening here. And then I'm going to put my finger inside and kind of feel. And then if I want to adjust it, I can also adjust from the inside too. So I'm kind of making it poof out a little bit more. I could take a wet sponge too and smooth out the rest of my tool marks. So now I have a handle. I have two of my sides done. I have this flower side started. I probably would do the same thing on the other side. So we want to make sure that you are trying to be consistent by keeping your idea or theme all the way around. Maybe this knob up here is going to be the center of another flower. And I'm going to make some more flower petals and attach them on. So not only is it a handle, but it's also a flower. And so maybe I'm just at first, I'm just going to kind of come up with where I'm going to put them. And I'm not going to attach them just yet. So that way I can kind of get a good idea of where I want them to go. But anytime you're attaching parts, you have to score and slip. So in ceramics, moisture content is a big deal. Attaching parts with the slipping and scoring process is a really big deal as well. And it's super important that you blend your attachments as best that you can. So wood tool will help you, your fingers, or potentially one of those rubber tip tools. And again, I'm just placing. I haven't scored and slipped anything up, but I want to make sure that I have enough, or I like the placement, or this petal over here seems to be a little out of place compared to the other ones. So maybe I need to shift it, or maybe I just simply need to trim it down and cut it. So the design aspect is really up to you. The only thing is that our slab piece needs to be ready to be bisque fire at the absolute latest by the end of Friday's class. And so that's kind of difficult for some of you who I will see 3 times this week, and for some of you I'll only see twice. So you want to make sure that you know what you're going to do, you have any of your like templates or stencils you need for tracing ready to go, so that once you're in the studio, you can just fly through and do the work you need to for your design.